welcome to the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to do-it-yourself budget hot rodding, Lady Mavericks Unite. Now, if you're fairly new to this series, Lady Mavericks Unite is the series that we dive into, and it's specifically, no pun intended, geared for our ladies, to show them that they too can have knowledge of the car world. Now, what I'm holding in my hand right now is what used to be one of the tie rods that was on Project Lena. Now, Lady Mavericks, I would like to tell you that I've got video footage where I had Project Lena up on jacks, and those jacks, then I was taking parts off, and then we took this part off magically and then installed the brand new ones. That's not true. That video footage does not exist. So how did we get this original part off of Project Lena and brand new ones installed? We took her to a shop. Now I already hear some of you Lady Mavericks, wait a minute, Prince Magnum, you took Project Lena to a shop? I thought this was do-it-yourself budget hot rodding. You're absolutely correct. Lady Mavericks, there is an unfortunate reality in the world of automotive, especially when doing DIY. The unfortunate reality is that there are going to be times that a job is just too big for you to do. No matter how skilled you become, you're going to have to rely on somebody else. You're going to have to pay somebody. But the question remains, who do you trust? Okay? Where do you begin? You know, there's so many shops out there that love to take advantage of unwilling motorists, unknowledgeable people who own vehicles, especially women. And this is a sore subject for a guy like me. I feel horrible that is a thing, that there are mechanics out there that love to take advantage of women who are not in the know. Well, luckily for us, I can give you some knowledge of finding one of these shops and what to do long before you ever get to that shop. You know, just kind of simple stuff that all of you need to know, all right? But before we go any further, is that 100% foolproof? I wish it was. In a perfect world, it would be. But this is not a perfect world, Lady Mavericks. So the best I can offer you is some tips that'll lessen your chances of getting ripped off at a shop. Now, the first thing that I need to tell you is that learn your vehicle. Even if you don't know a whole lot about other vehicles. I've met a lot of ladies out there that they'll know the make and model of their car, but the year doesn't exist. Well, I know it's made by, in this case, Pontiac, okay? Project Lena is a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT, okay? They won't know that much. They might know the year, and they'll know who made it, but they won't even know the name of the car, okay? Let alone any additional packages that were attached. Know your vehicle, okay? Know your vehicle inside and out, okay? So we know that the year, you need to know the year right out of the gate, 2003, okay? We know that it's made by Pontiac. That's the name of the company. Pontiac's also a subsidiary company of General Motors. That's something else you will need to know. So if, say, you own like an old Mercury, Mercury was made by Ford, okay? Dodge is owned by the Chrysler Corporation. These are things that you'll need to know. And, of course, the model, And we know that this is a Grand Am. Now, there will be what they call, kind of like, the sub-model stuff. This is the GT, okay? Grand Touring, okay? These are things that you all need to know. So, say you own, like, a 2016 Chevrolet Camaro Super Sport. When you go into a shop that you've kind of scoped out, know this up front, okay? Know these things up front, because if you don't, you're going to get ripped off. You're a target. you're now a target for being ripped off at the shop. The next thing that you need to know, what kind of drivetrain have you got? Real easy. Alright? Project Lena is a front-wheel drive car. Most cars nowadays are. Some of them are all-wheel drive. And some of them are your traditional layout, just like Project Spirit, rear-wheel drive. Let's talk about that real quick. With the hood up, you right away notice that Project Lena has a transverse engine. It means that the engine lays in sideways, right like that. In Project Spirit, the front of the engine is towards the front of the car, okay? So this, you know, with Project Spirit, the engine running this way, engine running front to back from the front to the back of the car, is a traditional layout. This is a transverse design, okay? And with front wheel drive, the power now just goes to the front tires, okay? So, whereas with Project Spirit, the power goes to the back tires. Basically, the engine puts out the power, goes through the transmission, through the drive shaft, back to the rear end, turning the back tires. In this particular case, the transmission is kind of connected right in over here and supplies the power to the front tires. Front wheel drive means the power goes to the front that drives the car, okay? Whereas with Project Spirit, the power is supplied to the back tires to push the car along, all right? So that is something that you'll need to know. All-wheel drive means power is going from the engine, going through the transmission to the entire vehicle, basically to the front tires and the back tires. It's really all you need to know, all right, as far as it goes. So these are things that you'll need to know. Taking in a vehicle just like like right here with Project Lena, go in and immediately with that mechanic shop, well, what kind of vehicle have you got? I've got a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT, front wheel drive, transverse engine, automatic transmission. Immediately, the guys behind the counter know that you know your stuff right away, and immediately will be a little less likely to take advantage of you. Now, if you've got the stick shift, you need to mention that. You know, and some of the Pontiacs did come out with 5-speed manual transmissions. I would love to find one, by the way. Would love to find a Pontiac Grand Am GT. But anyhow, so you guys get the general idea. These are things you need to know, okay? Along with that, you know, I threw this part down. This is a tie rod. What does it do? Okay, well, it actually connects in with the steering arm, and the short version of it is that when you turn the wheel, basically it helps push the tires one way or the other, okay? And it has them on both sides. So when they say, well, your car needs, your baby needs brand new tie rods, you know exactly what it is. Learn the parts of your car, okay? Because if you don't learn the parts of your car, they can rip you off. That's where the joke, well, you need blinker fluid, would come into play. Or you need a muffler bearing. You don't want to be that person that gets suckered in with that, okay? Don't be that person. Lady Mavericks, learn the inner workings of your vehicle. Other things that you should know. Well, you need a new belt, okay? Well, on Project Spirit, we have the old V-belt setting. Over here, we have a serpentine belt. One belt that drives everything on the engine. With Project Spirit, there was individual belts that ran different parts of the bolt-on parts for the engine. Water pump, alternator, power steering. Whereas over here, serpentine belt just runs all of it. Okay? Knowing these things and knowing what types of fluids that it needs, the viscosity of the oil, even the brand of oil that you would choose, the type of transmission fluid, knowing all of these things, and about your vehicle, believe me, a shop is less likely to rip you off. So knowing that is an absolute must. However, despite all of that, you're still turning your baby over to the hands of another individual. let's face facts. Sometimes even with the knowledge that I'm supplying right here to you guys, I will say up front, again, in a perfect world, having this knowledge would completely stop you from being ripped off. Now, with what I've just given you, decreases your chances, but it's not a guarantee. So, the next thing that I'm going to say is going to be very helpful to you. When you go into a shop, number one, how much business does it do? Now, a lot of shady shops out there will park vehicles, derelict vehicles basically, around their shop to make it always look like it's busy, okay? And it's really easy to spot, all right? If those vehicles haven't moved, yeah, they're prop vehicles to make it look like that shop is always busy. However, go in and see how much business, go by and see how much business they're doing. It'll be really easy to see. If they're always busy, if it's hard to get an appointment, there's a reason why that shop is busy, okay? There's a damn good reason why that shop is always busy. They've got good mechanics that don't rip people off. That's an easy one to spot. Also, the folks, behind the counter, will they let you purchase your own parts and bring them in? Parts from companies that you trust, okay? And I'm talking real parts companies, not those cheap Chinese ones that don't have names, okay? I'm talking about real parts companies. Say, again, tie rod. The replacements are from a company called carparts.com. They supplied me with quality parts, hashtag not sponsored, at a reasonable price, okay? Plain and simple. The shop that we took Project Lena to, they're like, fine, saves us having to order the part for you. They'll stand behind their work, but they won't stand behind the part, but they'll stand behind their work. Will the shop that you're looking at let you do that? Now, is that important? I think it is. Now, I will also say there is one shop that I already knew the guys behind the counter, and I knew that they weren't going to rip me off because, I'm out there, doing a lot of automotive stuff. But there is a shop in Farmington that I do trust to also purchase the parts for me, and they just include the purchase of the parts in with the labor and everything. And that's actually Plaza Tire Auto over in Farmington, so I trust them. But typically speaking, they're kind of like my second choice because I typically turn to Torque Diesel and Auto right here in Bonne Terre that actually let me purchase my own parts. So something to think about, all right? So those are just some things that I look at. And last but not least, if you ask them a question that you already know the answer to on your baby, by all means, if they answer it right, or they give you an answer that kind of makes you a little worried, it's one of those things. Test the knowledge behind with the guys behind the counter. Ask them certain questions. By the way, both shops that I just mentioned have already passed that test. Just something to think about, all right? Those are just some things to kind of help you, but first and foremost, knowledge of your baby is going to be the key ingredient more than anything, because a lot of shops, when they know that the inner workings of your baby, even though you may not know the the automotive world like some folks out there, if you know your baby, it'll save you from being ripped off. But here's a quick tip that'll save you if you think you've already been ripped off, okay? It's kind of one of those ones that I don't have to worry too much because I know what I'm looking for. But if you suspect that a shop may try to rip you off with any work, this is where, you Lady Mavericks really have an advantage over us guys. Because if you decide to keep a little bit of nail polish around in your car, it'll make sense soon enough, because you could take a dollop of nail polish and put it on the part that needs to be replaced, and after the work is done, you find that that part has that dollop of nail polish still there, well, you know that you've been ripped off, and you can take it back in and say, I know you guys didn't change that part. Here's how I know. Fix it. Or you can turn them over to your Better Business Bureau within your state. All right? So now you guys have got a really cool tip that'll help you save yourselves from being ripped off. A lot of these tips will help you out a lot, but again, in a perfect world, this is 100% foolproof. Not everything is going to be foolproof, but these are just some cool tips. Now, the nail polish joke, well, because I act the character of Sentiment, I would get away with that. But for a lot of you guys out there, if any of your buddies see a thing of nail polish sitting in a toolbox or in your baby, and you're one of those bachelors, well, how am I going to save you guys from being razzed? Vaya con Dios. But anyhow, alrighty. Because I know some guys do watch the Lady Mavericks Unite series. They really like it too. But that does bring us to a good stopping point. Everybody, get on over and check out the Teespring. There's amazing merchandise over there, and all proceeds go back into the project cars, and including doing videos, just like we did right here today. Along with that, maybe you don't want any merchandise, but you still want to help out the channel. Get on over to Patreon. For $1 a month, you become a member of the High Mileage Club, and all proceeds go back into the project cars, helping do videos again, just like this, or hopefully getting projects like Project Spirit back on the road a whole lot sooner than later. But now that we've come to that juncture where, we've got to let out from another amazing video going to the books of the Prince Magnum channel. I'd like to say to all of you out there, get out there and work on a project. Don't care what it is. Just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. Now, as always, for every last one of you out there, no one out there has told you that they love you today. Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.